I take back roads whenever I can because the road less traveled, as Robert Frost said, that's where the secrets are, that's where the prizes are. And so this is kind of a back road. And the thing that gave it away, I saw a Gulf sign, a Sunoco sign, Citgo sign, and I said, bingo, there's a car collector here, I bet. Kind of pulled in the driveway, and I think you were in that building. Maybe you were mowing.
I was back in the mower, and I just finished.
Finished mowing, and I said, you got to be a car guy, and he said, yeah, I am. And so now we're buddies.
Yeah.
Charlie? Yeah. So your deal is what? I mean, what do you collect?
Well, the core collection for me is my Pontiacs. I have at least one Pontiac from every decade. It just kind of got out of control from there, and I also do a lot with. I probably go to more antique truck shows than I actually go to car shows. And my main brand with trucks is International Harvester.
Here's a Scout, right?
Yeah.
So this is a second generation Scout?
This is a Scout 2, yep, the more boxy one. I bought this one on eBay. Kind of a running theme with me is I buy things on eBay. I put a bid to watch it and I wind up with it. And I bought this one because it has the optional tent, which I had never seen. And it goes
camping tent.
Yeah, it goes on the tailgate, over the tailgate, and the 74 GTO had a similar setup. So they had
GTO Pontiac?
Yeah, if you had the hatchback, they had a tent that you put the hatchback up and the tent kind of draped over the back of it.
But this is pretty tough here.
This one's crusty, yeah.
Is this a project or is it yard art?
It's kind of both. I bought it. I actually took it to a local mechanic that had done some work for me, and he did a lot mechanically to it.
Yeah.
And I haven't even really driven it since then.
Oh, it runs.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this one will run.
Is that original paint? No, it doesn't.
No, I don't.
But it sure looks like a cherry showroom car if you squint at it.
Yeah, don't look too low.
Yeah. Another one I noticed was here, your Toyota. So Toyota doesn't fit into your collection scheme. How'd you wind up with this?
Well, when I was a kid growing up in Augusta, we actually had a 75 Celica. That was just a stout vehicle. We had two teenage boys in high school beating on it all the time. I've always had a thing for Toyotas because of that. And I bought this one locally. This was, a real low buck out in the field. Guy had used it for plowing. Turned out there was an issue with the head gasket. I took the head off and had it machined and yada, yada, yada. And the head's still in the bag in the garage. And it never got put back together.
So what an odd tailgate. I didn't notice this. It's got a two-piece upper tailgate that goes horizontally.
Kind of hinges.
And a two-piece lower tailgate that goes vertically.
Yeah.
What a complicated design there.
And a lot of these FJs had what they called the ambulance doors, the two big doors that opened up. That's very, very common.
So this looks like a Pontiac museum. Yeah,
this is kind of some of the international trucks are infiltrating a little bit. Let me snap a couple lights on.
So these are unrestored cars?
Some are, some aren't. Like I said, the theme of the Pontiac collection is to have one from every decade. So we actually do start with 26, which is...
All right, so give us a quick boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, 26 is the first year for Pontiac. I haven't done a lot with that car, but it is a 26. Kind of a shiny 29, which is a decent little runner.
So you have two from that decade?
Yeah, at least one from every decade.
I got it, okay.
This is a 37 that I actually bought. It was my first older car, and this was bought at the Owl's Head auction. I just bought it on impulse because I thought it was going too cheap, so I jumped in and bought it, and
that was your first old car, no kidding.
Yeah, and this one's a great runner, and this one's it had 29,000 miles when I bought it. It's got 36 now. It's got the oil change stickers in the door, 1966 Rhode Island inspection sticker still in the window.
I've never seen one. Wow, okay, so now we go to the 40s?
48.
48 convertible.
48 convertible.
Wow.
This one's my wife's favorite. Another Owl's Head auction car. Got bought by a dealer in northern Maine. Outbid me. That was also at the Owl's Head auction, and then it came back and I bought it for almost 10 grand less than he had paid for it the year before. What's interesting about the convertibles is the data plate will be a 6-cylinder data plate, but all the convertibles had 8s in them.
Wow.
So it's a weird deal.
Now that's unusual, man.
Yeah, 51 sedan delivery. I really wanted a 53, but they're kind of scarcer than hen's tooth.
A sedan delivery that has been converted to like a hearse or something?
I've had this around some of the commercial vehicle guys, and no one can really give me an answer what they think it is.
Does this light up, this little guy?
Oh yeah. I was smart enough to turn the battery switch off.
Wow. So tell us about these guys.
Story really starts with the Travelall. My grandfather, who I'm named after, was Charlie Munn. When he fully retired, my aunt lived in San Jose, and they wound up living in an Airstream trailer, going coast to coast every year. They came to Maine every summer, and he towed it in a '67 Travelall. And I remember as a kid riding in that Travelall out. I mean, we visited in California, and I remember driving around in California in the Travelall, and that great big stick shift.
Oh yeah.
So I wanted the same year. I searched for a '67 Travelall forever. I found this one on eBay. It's identical to my grandfather. I wasn't limiting myself to the color, but the one I found turned out to be the color.
Man. What year is that?
'67. And it did not, mine, the only difference is it didn't have the white painted top. And as you can see, it now has the white painted top.
So is this unrestored? Or is it original paint?
I think this one's original paint.
It looks like it.
It needs to be done. It's got the
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, this is great.
Quite a few
And
miles.
it's what motor's in there?
304.
Can you show that? Is that an international motor or is it made sourced from?
Oh, international. The cool thing about international is a lot of this stuff is common with big trucks, so they're extremely heavy duty.
So is this what started your collection of internationals?
Yes, absolutely.
See, my grandfather had one. I want to find one like it, and then it sprang from there.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's all it takes with me.
Yep. And do you drive this one?
Oh, absolutely. Everything I have, I drive.
So you've got one GTO.
Yeah, I got a 70 tucked away that needs to be gone through. Who
So
knows?
a GTO convertible with the stick shift.
So this car was owned for a long time by a club member. I bought this car in 1995 for $3,000.
The way it is?
No.
Oh.
But it was a running car. It had a 283 Chevy in it that he had bought at a yard sale for 35 bucks, and he was running it. It had a 3-speed transmission. I was going to paint it a lighter shade of blue because I had a hard top and I really liked that color. I did the Pontiac historical research on it, and it turns out that this was an original tri-power 4-speed car.
Is it a tri-power now?
Yes, it is.
Could you pop that?
Sure can.
Tri-power means 3 2-barrel carburetors. So, you know, you probably could have gotten, what, a single 2-barrel, a single 4-barrel, and then 3 2-barrels.
Yeah, and someone was just talking to me about seeing a GTL the other day that was a 2-barrel, which is extremely rare.
Wow.
And my answer was, if you're going to do that, why not? If you want a better fuel mileage, just get the tri-power and stay out of the end carbs.
Right. So a lot of people could run on. Is that it? You run around town with the middle carb?
Right. And the 2 other carbs have no idle circuit. They're just dumpers. And everybody thinks, oh, you got to tune them and synchronize them. You don't. All they do is dump gas in. And they had 2 kinds of linkages. They had a mechanical linkage and a vacuum linkage. The vacuum linkage was a little iffy because you never knew quite when it was going to kick in. So a lot of people converted their vacuums to mechanical. And this one's got the mechanical. And you can buy all the linkages and everything. It's all repop.
So you had to buy all this stuff because it had a Chevy engine in it, right?
Yeah.
So we're at 60s. This is 70s.
We had 77 Can-Am. Pontiac did this. It was a special edition car. Pontiac intended to do 5,000 of them. They took this body. They put the curved Grand Prix dash in. They made up the spoiler. They were using an older version of the shaker, probably because they had a gazillion in the parts bin. They broke a die for one of the spoilers, and it's tens of thousands of dollars to redo a die. And the Grand Prix was selling like hotcakes. So Pontiac knew that for every Can-Am we sell, it's one less Grand Prix we sell, so it doesn't really matter. We're not going to invest in that die. So total production of these was 1,377. It's a 1-year only car. This one's got some dealer-installed T-tops in it. I saw this car in 1999 at a New Hampshire show of a club that I'm in, and I wound up buying it from a guy that was a former president of that club.
So 6.6 liter, is that a 455?
400.
400.
400.
That's got to move out, man.
Yeah, and then they use the Trans Am motor in this. So a lot of the tables, Pontiac has a 2-digit code. A lot of the tables you look at don't show that code in an A body like this because they only did it in the Can-Am, and this one has the original motor in it, so it's got that. So it's the same motor as the 77 Trans Am next to it. And then you can see what I'm talking about in the shaker. By 77, they were using that little bit lower with the line on it.
Yep.
With the little ridge down the middle.
This is 77?
This is at 77 as well. That was the Smokey and the Bandit year.
And it's a manual gearbox. Wow.
Yeah. So this car was bought brand new by the head of the union at the Merrimack Budweiser plant. That's where I first saw this car. That's where we had our show. We used to have it on the Bud plant grounds. And the most senior employee down there was a dedicated club member. He bought this car. And the original owner hopped it all up. He had a 455 in it, which the last year is 76. I have the letter he wrote to PAW specifying how he wanted the motor built. And it was incredibly powerful. I put a little bit smaller cam in it, and the cylinder pressure came up. I wound up popping a head gasket. So I got a correct motor for this car and had it rebuilt. He had dual quads on it, so it had no shaker, just an open hole. And you'd look at and it was hideous. And this is an original paint car.
This is original.
This is original paint.
And decal?
Yeah. Oh yeah, this is all.
Jeez.
Yeah. And the shaker I found in Texas as an original paint shaker.
Same color.
Yeah. And it worked out great because if you look at the edges of the decals, they kind of got the right patina. I didn't want to paint one up because it would have been too shiny to match. So it matches perfect. I called the original owner up to see if he had any of those components. And he told me no. 10 minutes later, he called me back. He says, "You can't believe this. I walked in my basement. On top of my basement refrigerator, the original center caps. So I've got the original wheels and centers back on the car."
These are unbelievable. So here's the little story. When I was a kid, 18 years old, high school senior, I had a job parking cars at a country club, and there'd be, weddings and dinners and things like that. So you'd park cars, and most of the cars were just cars. They were, like it might be a Volkswagen Beetle, it might be a Toyota, it might be an Impala. But somebody came in with a 455 Trans Am automatic, was white with the eagle on it. Well, I had driven Volkswagens that had to push start because I couldn't afford a battery. And there was this amazing car sitting there, and the wedding's going on. I said, I wonder if the owner would mind if I just took it for a little spin. So I just drove it around the parking lot. I said, this is unbelievable. So I did my first power brake. I never power brake because in a Volkswagen with 40 horse, you can't power brake. And I just melted the rear tires on that thing. Don't ever tell that to anybody. That's between you and I.
This one is GTO related.
This is GTO related.
Yeah, we went to the GTO club. Went down to Motorland in Arundel, who's a nice little museum plus a consignment dealer. And we pulled into the lot, and there's international trucks everywhere. And I'm like, my jaws just dropped. This guy was actually a truck club member. I never had met him. He didn't participate heavy. And he restored his trucks mechanically and then interior, and then he either left them this way on the outside or that would be the next step. And the interior in this truck is incredible.
So this is all repainted?
Yeah. He restored the interior. It's just absolutely mint.
Wow. Bring us more international trucks. Where do we go next?
I think we might have a couple out back here.
This is quite a little museum, man. Oh boy.
Hey, if you like what you're watching, do me a favor. Go check out the Hagerty Drivers Club. 24/7 roadside assistance with flatbed towing, subscription to our award-winning magazine, and more. Sign up today. Links right down here in the description.
So this one is a vehicle that was owned by a fellow right here in Maine. He actually was Joe Bradstreet from White and Bradstreet fame, which is the truck junkyard up in Augusta. I went to his auction and I bought a lot of signs, and a lot of the trucks did not sell, and they sent them up to Owl's Head, and I wound up buying this one at Owl's Head. This is a 43, so it's a war year truck.
Wow, would it have been a red truck, do you think?
I'm guessing. That's a good question. It may have been green. It was sold to me as a 42, and I think it's because it has a 42 license plate on it.
Yeah.
In 43, the war years, you could not get a license plate. They gave you a cardboard thing you put in the windshield, and it authorized you to use your 42 plate. I just saw one on eBay, and it was a lot of money for a piece of cardboard, and I passed, but now I'm kind of kicking my butt. I didn't buy it. This is a 1916 Signal. This came through the Owl's Head auction. I knew the seller, and I knew the auctioneer. I thought I'd help out. I put a bid. They went to a half increment, and I raised my hand. I figured the guy would jump the full increment. He didn't, and I wound up with it. But it's a great truck, and this thing starts as good after sitting all winter as it does if I let it sit for 2 hours.
Could you start it now?
I can.
Oh, I'd love it.
Choke off.
You don't have to prime it, huh?
Generally not. I bragged it up. It better start now.
106 years old.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Wow, wow, wow. $106 old. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
All right, cool. And then you have this cool little aluminum van behind you here.
Yeah, I saw that down at the Stafford Spring Swap Meet in 1999. It was in the parking lot. I took pictures of it. And then the next time I went to the swap meet, it was in the car corral. And I wound up talking to the guy, and he was distracted. He had a buddy that wouldn't give me the time of day to talk about buying it. So I took his number, and I said, I'll call him up in
Can I sit in here?
Sure.
This is pretty cool.
I said, I'll call him up in a few weeks, and you know, it's storage season, maybe I can get a better deal. And I called him up, and he stored it at a buddy, so he didn't really care, but we hammered out a deal, and I wound up picking it up in the spring.
So is this on a late model chassis?
It's on a 79 Suburban chassis, and it's got an old 350 Buick engine in it.
Is it four-wheel drive?
It looks it, but it's not.
Wow. So was this like a milk truck or?
It's a bread truck.
A bread truck.
Yeah.
Is this a Grumman?
Yes. It's
Grumman.
registered as a 58 Ford because it was a Ford.
Oh, Ford chassis, really?
It was a Ford chassis.
Really? So, okay, so Grumman, you know, was an aerospace company based on Long Island, and they got into making truck bodies for it. They were so good at making planes of aluminum, they decided to go towards a more consumer market. It's great. What a surf wagon this would be. Oh,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Wow.
I got an Airstream trailer I tow behind it.
With this?
Yeah.
Oh, that must be sharp.
Yeah.
Jeez. And so you have more international rigs outside?
One of the ones I got outside is my cab over.
So this is your cab over.
That's the cab over.
And so that big trailer, what do you haul in that thing?
That's, well, right now it's got a 67 Scout in it.
Oh, I can see a fender. And is that living?
And it's all living quarters in the front. This is the cat's meow.
Man.
I bought this truck in 2011 in Washington State. Never driven a big truck before and drove it across country.
Did you? What year?
79. So this is an ex-Budweiser Clydesdale truck. And you can read the ghostwriting in it says Anheuser-Busch in script, and then it says Redondo, California was the stable.
Oh, look at that, Budweiser.
So when I came across country, I met a couple of, the truck hobby's kind of old guys, but I met a couple of young guys in South Bend where the convention was that year. I timed my trip, bring it back to hit the national convention. And this one fella, Chris Budke out of Findlay, Ohio, we stayed in touch on Facebook, and he found me a matching Clydesdale trailer to this. And I have that in the body shop for 7 years, but eventually they're always making progress. It's slow.
So the method here is like multi-stages. Let's see, I guess this goes here.
Yeah, the crossover.
This goes here. Wow.
There you go.
Oh, so it's got a small sleeper in there?
Yeah. When I brought this in 2011, I stayed in that for 9 nights. I just ran this rig over 1,000 miles to Muncie and back.
Sounds like you have a cool wife too. She shares your hobby, huh?
Nah, she indulges my hobby. She does to a degree. She's got a Firebird convertible down in the other garage, and she's got a 2012 Fiat she keeps really nice. And that's one of the things we got in the other bin. We got a little matching mini-me 67 Fiat.
Ah.
Yeah.
Oh, 67, what, a 500?
500, yeah.
500. All right, you know what? We've just looked at this. Can you show us the 500?
Yeah, I would put them side by side.
Yeah, I mean, like, you can't get further apart.
Yeah.
Oh, man, lots of Pontiacs.
Yeah, we got a few more in here.
Oh, we're not done yet. Yeah. All right, so let's go from that truck right to that Fiat. This is adorable. I mean, you and I could walk away with this carrying.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. I'm sure a lot of those kind of pranks were done with these. So 67, this showed up at Owl's Head a few years ago, and I couldn't resist it. I probably paid way too much for it.
So it's two-cylinder, right?
Two-cylinder, exactly, yeah.
Two-cylinder Fiat 500. The big block was the 600. It had a 4-cylinder. This is the small. Look at the wheels. I've never seen optional wheels like that.
Yeah, that's what attracted me. There were 2 in that auction, and the other one I think went down a couple here locally on the coast, but this one had the bullet mirrors and it had the wheels and the color. The other one was beige. This one really popped. The interior is neat.
What a beautiful car.
Yeah.
Man. You know, we're the guy who not only appreciates, you know, big cab over trucks that are over the road, United States, hauling big trailers, but also one of the smallest cars you can get in America. So Pontiacs again. We're back in the Pontiac world. Another, what, 50, another 55 or something?
51.
51, okay.
51. So this car, I used to have, Uncle Henry's was our local swap book for years. And I was, you know, Thursday was Uncle Henry's day. And I had this ad circled. I may even have it somewhere. And I missed it out. And I went to a local cruising and this older fellow had bought it. And I was like, I can't believe I didn't go get that car. And he had it for years. And he got to the point where he shouldn't have been driving. I was really scared when he come to cruising.
Yep.
And he was trying to sell it. I had made him an offer. In the meantime, I bought that 51 sedan delivery, so I didn't really need another 51, but I stood by my offer and I bought it from the guy. And the day I went to pick it up, he had a flat yard, but it rolled down from his driveway. I had to hold him by the hand to help him up. And I felt really bad, but I was really glad to get the car away from him. I didn't want to see him driving anymore. This has a very mirror image story to the 51. This truck was built over 40 years ago on Chebeague Island, which is off the coast in Portland, Maine, by a fellow named Don Muncie. Don was a long time truck. He's the guy that got me into the truck club just because of his enthusiasm, and he helped me out. I had bent the bumper on the bread truck and he helped me straighten it out. And we do our local truck club show in September in Topsom. And I saw him and his wife and said, you want me to haul thick and thin down to the show? And her eyes lit right up. You'll do that? So I went over and picked it up. And Don was really trying to pass us on to a good home. He knew he was close. And he says to me, he says, that truck's not coming home, is it? I said, well, we'll talk at the show, Don. And mid-afternoon of the show, he turned to me and he says, guy in New York offered me $4,000 for the truck. What do you give me? I said, Don, I'll give you $4,001. I said, no, I'm kidding. I'll give you $4,500. He stuck his hand out and I didn't go there. It came home. 4 weeks to the day after that, and his son came by and said, you know, Dad's not doing too good. And I said, yeah, I heard. He says he's not eating. Half an hour later, Gary came back by and said, I just got the call. He passed away.
So, but he was able to put this in a good home before that.
Yeah. And they went on their first date in this truck. Wow. Yeah, so.
Cool. Maine has a real kind of eclectic bunch of cars, and you've seen some of the sports cars and other things. But other parts of the country prefer muscle cars or Chevy trucks, whatever. But you know what's really amazing is that if I took Charlie and brought him to San Diego or Alaska, he would like those people and those people would like him. Even if they don't care about Pontiacs or international trucks, like car people are car people. And it's really amazing. It's almost like this bond that as soon as you meet somebody that's authentic, darn, they're buddies. And you might like that and I like this, but we're buddies and can I borrow your vice grip? So, you know, it's pretty cool that we're kind of in a fraternity, and I want to thank you for sharing your collection with us today.
Oh, it's been my pleasure.
Because, you know, it just adds a little bit more spice to this car sauce that we all love indulging in. So
it's a disease.
It's a disease. Well, thank you so much, and happy hunting to you. I hope you've enjoyed these last few episodes on the coast of Maine.